So what's the timeline right now, Ben? I mean, can you be with guys right now, or does that ramp up in June? Just take us through these next few weeks and I guess into the summer months.
Yeah, so right now we're dead. The guys are in finals, so by rule you can't do anything. So we finished up, gosh, a couple days ago, whenever it was before finals with workouts. So they'll have a break from now to like that first week in June, and then guys will move in. I think it's like June 5th, and then we'll gotta do physicals and protocol stuff, and then we'll probably start our 8 week like that second week in June.
Then when you look at last year's team, obviously there's a few guys back, guys that haven't played like Parker and Isaiah. You haven't seen them in the spring, but where do you see them like going into the summer? How you see them competing?
Yeah, no, I think it will be fun to see. We lose basically. JMO's obviously going to start, but then other than that, we'll have 4 new starters no matter how you spin it, really. And so I think it'll be interesting. How it plays out. I know guys are hungry to get on the floor and get back to 5-on-5. Isaiah and Parker really haven't done contact 5-on-5, and so that'll be a good time for them to just get some simulated game type action. This summer is not really, you don't really look at it and say, okay, here's what I got, who's starting, or here's my depth. You just look at it as like, all right, what do we have? What can guys do and what they can't do? Try to get them a little bit familiar with our system on both sides of the ball. But more than anything, it's good for me just to see these guys go up and down, and for those guys to get their confidence and just kind of get their feeling back of going 5-on-5 and taking contact and stuff like that.
Ben, can you walk us through the recruiting process with Dawson? Obviously, you knew him before, but when he enters the portal, what was kind of your selling points? What kind of things were you receiving from him?
Yeah, I've known Dawson. Gosh, I was talking to him about when he was at team camp. I think his freshman year and watching him. And then obviously when I was at Xavier his freshman year, he was at Marquette. Got a chance to see him live, and he had an unbelievable freshman year. Didn't really follow North Carolina, too close this year, but no, he had a good start and he had a really good game versus Purdue. And so, when he was in the portal, we just talked about, it's always a two-way street when you bring in transfers. And I think to make it work, we need them, but they also need us, and it's got to kind of be that common ground. So we just kind of talked about that. We talked about, our system and our style and how I know he can fit in and be a good piece to what we're trying to do. And, he obviously, is excited to be able to be back, excited to, have the opportunity to play here in front of friends and family. I think he was able to watch us a little bit and knows some of the players on our team, so excited to play with those guys. And I think he's just ready to get to work, ready to just kind of hone his craft and get better. The kid's always been about improving and, loves to compete, loves to be in the gym. And I think now he's just really looking forward to getting back to work.
Optimistic about getting a waiver for him to be able to play right away?
You never know. I mean, he obviously, I'm not going to get into depth about it, but it's got some, pretty legitimate and hard-hitting stuff. But again, you kind of never know. So we'll go through that process and see where it takes us. Just like all our guys, I mean, if you're a waiver, if you're not a waiver, all our guys are going to prepare the same way. So, hopefully it turns out in the right way for him and for us, and we'll see how that goes.
What's that moment like when he's on the visit and he commits, and that's, you were talking about him, McDonald's All-American 2 years ago. It's a game changer for your program.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously excited, when you can get a guy that has that talent level. But at the same time, like, I don't want him to feel like, it's a one-man show and he's got to put everything on his back and he's got the weight of the world, And just knowing Dawson, he's not the type of kid that expects that either. He's the type where he just wants to come in here and work. And that was so refreshing to hear him say. Again, obviously he has the talent piece that, it's what you need at this league, at this level. You got to have guys that have that type of caliber of talent. But at the same time, he knows it's going to be a collective effort, and he wants to be a part of that.
The front court, you mentioned what you want to see. You don't know what you're going to see yet from Parker and Isaiah. You're looking forward to that, but Jamison's there. I mean, that had been a selling point, huge for Dawson, right? That he gets to play with a player like that. I mean, that he's known.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think those guys have a relationship going all the way back. Even Parker, he knows Parker, knows Isaiah. And so, I do think it felt right for him. And I think that's big. I think, especially when you're making a transfer, you want to feel a part of it. You want to feel comfortable in your locker room. You want to feel comfortable in your surroundings. And I know he does. And I think when guys get that feeling and have that, you're only going to take off and elevate. And I just feel like the energy now is going to be heightened, which is good. And I think, with having Parker and Isaiah back, it adds depth. So now when we do go up and down, you got Big Ten caliber bodies, and that'll be fun to see.
Payne, when you're putting him in the mix with potentially Dawson, right, and then some other guys that have already played college basketball, probably eases his transition, a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think for all of our freshmen, they're going to have the benefit of learning from older guys. But at the same time, I want to be able to throw them to the fire a little bit. I think that's the best way that you improve and get better. But they're going to have great examples, whether it's Jamison, Parker, Dawson, Talon, of just how you operate on a day-to-day basis, how you go about your work. And the thing I do like about the 4 freshmen is they're really mature. And they take this stuff serious, which is important. And so I think that they're just going to use those older guys and those veteran guys as a great example, and it's going to set them up to really have a really good summer.
Ben, do you have 2 scholarships open now? Do you plan on using both of them, or?
I probably won't use all of them. I just think, man, with the portal the way it is now, it is so hard to even go. I mean, I looked at it 100,000 times. To even play 9 guys is hard, and I think right now we're right around 10. If we get one more, I think that would be in the mix, and it's hard, man. And every coach wants to have depth to a certain degree. But you also don't want to sacrifice players that you really like. And, our staff, we love everybody on this roster and want to see those guys improve and grow. And I think the best way to do that is through playing time. And so, there's a lot of people that talk about there's all these transfers that are out there, but it's got to be the right ones that work, right? And I don't want to, hinder any young kids that we really like and maybe stunt their growth. Because I think they can definitely help us this year, and then it obviously helps us the years to come if they can get that experience. So, I don't think we'll go up to 13. We'll just kind of feel it out a little bit.
Like a poker game, as far as having to know when to, I'll say, offer somebody and know when to kind of hold 1 or 2 of them back, just in case somebody kind of creeps up that you really like that fits your system.
A little bit. I mean, you could do that to a certain extent. I mean, once you've got a couple in the bag, you can do that maybe. But I think early, especially if you don't know, you got to kind of take bird in hand, But that's kind of the game within the game, because you don't really know when some of these guys are going to pop. Everybody thought with that deadline that all of a sudden you'd see a couple huge names potentially go, and it's 50-50. It's a guessing game, But I've always been under the notion that you got to take bird in hand. If you can get a really good player, it's too hard now to roll the dice. There's too many variables out there that, you might think you have a kid and something could happen ninth inning and you don't get them, and now you're stuck. So, we just try to do the best we can and kind of cast a broad net and have a handful of guys that we like, and we feel like, man, if we can get one or two of these guys, then we're in pretty good shape.
Portal like? I mean, how many times a day are you looking at it? Is it a morning thing? Is it an evening thing? Is it morning coffee or what?
It's a every 5-minute thing. It's a sickness. No, it really is. It's like now it's winding down. You kind of have like withdrawals, because you're so used to like the constant update. No, we actually we got a couple guys that kind of are the head of that. Obviously, the whole staff, you just kind of you keep posted, but we got a couple guys that's kind of that's their deal, and they let us know. But it's like I said, it's literally every minute. I mean, you could be. There's been times we've been in like staff meeting or had a kid on campus, and I just hear my phone, and you look at it, it's like boom, in the portal, and you're just like, wow.
So you get notifications like you have. Is it like an app?
It's not really an app, but it's like either, if a kid goes in, somebody's going to reach out and let you know that the kid's officially in. Or, one of our staff members might see it and bam, you forward it along or pass it along. Or a kid might even, say, hey, I'm officially in. So, yeah, it's interesting.
You're still working the portal? I mean, are you still looking for like a starting two guard?
Yeah, no, I think right now I feel pretty good about our perimeters. I think if we could add, depth, maybe a combo piece, probably lean that way a little bit. But I really like our roster. I think, Isaiah gives you versatility. Isaiah can play 2 through the 4 now. Jamo's gonna play perimeter and he's gonna play inside. Now you got, Parker, Dawson, and Farrell. I mean, kind of how we play. It's all interchangeable, and so there's a lot of ways we can go. And then again, you add the freshmen. You add Trayton obviously in the mix. We got some pretty good depth. So right now I would say the only spot would really be, is there a combo that could kind of flip between helping Talon out a little bit. I probably would like to get Jaden some looks at the one, especially with his size and his versatility. But if we do something, it would probably be a guy that can kind of do a little bit of both.
How huge was it to get Talon? I mean,
Big.
obviously, if you
Huge, gigantic.
gotten them, you probably would you be talking to us?
No, I would not be talking to you right now. No, that was huge, and that was that was the guy that you watched on film, and we targeted right away because he fits everything that we needed. And then when you talk to him on the phone, man, he is everything you'd want in a lead guard. He's originally from Detroit, so he's got Big Ten roots. Mom and Dad are Detroit people, and so that was intriguing to them, intriguing to him. He's obviously heard of the league, followed the league. He knows the history of it. He's just a hoops junkie. I mean, the guy, I thought I was up to date on the NBA and stuff like that, and he's quizzing me. So it's fun to see that and have a guy that's like that. And then he's a connector. He's just a kid that people gravitate to naturally. And again, he's got that experience, and he played on Morehead State team that was really good in a really good league this year. He's got good size, good length. He's that kind of pass first. You look at his assist to turnovers, but then he can also score. And so to get him just not only on the court, but what he'll do for our locker room as far as leadership and just his personality, it was a total home run.
You think there might be some natural ebbing of the portal over time? Like it's been so much of the floodgates for about 2 years, I guess, and there's probably a lot of kids out there who think they can find a better situation, but there's so many other in the portal that may not be there. I don't know. Do you think we might see a little bit of?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think there's like 1,400 that are of scholarship guys that are in there right now. I mean, if you think about that number, and there's 358 teams. All right, but now you chop that in half. Well, most of these kids go in the portal because they think that they're gonna advance up, or they want a different role, or what have you. I just don't think there's enough spots for kids in their mind of like, I'm going in the portal to move here. Do you know what I mean? And so I do think it's going to be a reality check here pretty soon. Is that going to stop it? Maybe a little bit, but probably not. I think now just having the option of being able to play right away, having the option, I mean, they'll see, for most guys, it just takes one or two kids for them to notice that made the jump and had success, and then everybody's going to assume, like, well, that can be me. It's like in the NBA draft, it takes the one guy that doesn't get drafted, that's a two-way that makes it, and now a lot of kids are going to think, well, okay, if I don't get drafted, I can just go be X, Y, and Z and make it because he did. The percentage of that are really low. So as much as you try to tell guys that, sometimes the grass isn't always greener, or sometimes if you're in a good spot, it's just pushing through and persevering. But I think now with just the climate we're in, you're still going to see it is what it is.
How tough is it when you're trying to recruit guys, and then there's the NIL thing where I know programs can't obviously set up those deals, but if you're going somewhere, there's probably people around there that want to help the program, and you have to compete with NIL too when you're with other programs.
It's obviously an added challenge, it's an added piece to it. I think what we've tried to do is just work intelligently around that issue, right? So if there's a kid we're recruiting and the first thing he talks about is maybe a large NIL number, well, then we'd probably move on right now. And so I think it's just more than anything, it's getting to the root of that sooner than later, so you're not wasting time, and figuring out, the direction that person might want to go, but then also knowing that is a reality, and we still got to find a way to get really good players, even though right now, like, I don't have a lot of interest in offering a kid a crazy amount of money, so.
What was your reaction to the Kansas State kid then getting, is it almost, I don't want to say it's out of control, I guess get what you can get, but it just seems nuts that this kid's getting $400,000 a year.
Yeah, for me, like I said, each program can obviously do what they want to do. So I just look at it like for me and for us, my biggest worry is the locker room. You worry about that. And then I worry about, all right, what the expectation now of that and what comes with that. And there's so many unknowns. And I also, we talk about with every kid, it's like, I want the NIL, I get that, I like that, I want guys to be able to use that to their benefit. But I also want guys that's not priority number one of why you're coming here, and if it is, and you're all about that, and that's the biggest thing, well, then this probably isn't the place for you. No disrespect to guys that want to do that. That's just the way that we're going to operate. So, yeah, I think it's great that they're given the opportunity. I think they should maximize it. I understand that. I also just feel like for us, the way I am and the way we want to do it, some stuff does concern me that I feel like could really hinder, and stuff that you're now coaching outside of, there's so much stuff you're coaching, and now to have to coach and maybe police a locker room, I'd rather not run that risk. And it might work out great. You never know, but I'd rather, in my mind, not worry about that and run that risk. So.
Then because the transfer portal is such a way of life, in some ways, would you like to see it limited as far as to, let's say, instead of having a kid having unlimited jumps, to have a few jumps, or like maybe just 2 or something like that? Do they really think, do I really want to use one of my transfers to go here to make sure that fit the first time is the right fit for me?
Right. I've learned quickly that like it's not what I think is right or what I want. That like in today's day and age, I just don't see that. I don't see it changing. I don't see, we could propose a rule like that, which could work out and be great. I don't think we win that battle right now. I could be wrong. I just feel like if you watch the landscape of different regulations and rules that coaches or NCAA has tried to institute for kind of that, it hasn't worked out. And so I just feel like it'd be really tough now for people to circle back and implement that. Like it could happen, and it could be something really good. But I just my mind now is operating on like this is how it's going to be, and it's only NIL is probably only going to get bigger, and it's only going to go and involve more people, whether that's agents or third parties. I think if we're not thinking like that, and we're hoping that there's regulations and rules, I think maybe we missed the boat a little bit. And obviously, if there is, great, we'll figure that out. But I think the way things are going, our minds got to be thinking almost like 2 steps ahead and thinking that like this isn't changing, and we've got to still be able to navigate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, guys.